I would argue it's unlike any other large country in the world. So there's a second thing in that black box, an unrelenting stream of immigration, non-stop. Folks like me who were Caucasian of European descent, for the first time in 2017, will be in an absolute minority in the United States of America. Absolute minority. Fewer than 50% of the people in America from then and on will be white European stock. That's not a bad thing.
No, this is their strategy. They want to undo America. They want to let all these folks come in. They could stop it if they wanted to, but not only are they letting them come in, then they're helping them once they get in here. Their desire is not to secure our border. Look, they say so themselves. They're more concerned about Ukraine than they are about our own southern border. And the way that they're keeping this away from the American people is they are giving money to non-governmental organizations who swoop in as soon as they're processed, and they're sending them off on an airplane to wherever they want to go, giving them a phone, and giving them Visa cards up to $5,000. Now, that information comes from very solid sources, from multiple sources. And this is what they're doing. This is their plan. They just don't want the American people to know how bad the situation is.
Who's telling you that these migrants are getting $5,000 Visa cards once they are processed through the border?
Look, I get this information from sources that are right inside of there, including guys that work with Border Patrol who are fed up with what their government is doing. And I can go down to the cities where they dump them out into my county and other places. They go directly to the ATMs after that and start pulling money out. I see them on flights when I fly all over the country. I just flew to Chicago. I had to help a lady who was flying from Dallas because she didn't speak any English, so I spoke in Spanish to her to help her get to her flight to LaGuardia. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that we, the taxpayer, are subsidizing all of this. While we have American families struggling from this horrible, bungled economy called Bidenomics, we're now subsidizing other people in this country and totally turning our back on the American people. And they're doing it right at the southern border. And KJP said something. She said that history will remember this. They will remember it. And they will remember that this administration, Biden and Myorkas, turned their back on the American people and put us at risk with terrorists, with fentanyl, with the rape of women and children. The list goes on and on, Jesse.
For the better part of 2 years now, I have been trying to wrap my brain around this whole unvetted, unmitigated, unrelenting stream of economic migrants or illegal immigrants, call them what you will. But why is the government allowing this to continue? Despite what all of its constituents, or at least a vast majority of them, think about this policy and how it is endangering our country, why do they continue to allow it to happen? And for a while, I thought possibly that this is a way that the Democrats would be able to bring in a new voter class, because it seems as though right now, according to the polls, a lot of Latin and Black Americans are jumping off of the Democratic plantation finally and coming to their senses that anything is better than what the Democrats are offering. Then I saw a news report the other night, and I said, well, maybe it's not so much based on voting. Maybe it's more they just want to put a strain and crank up the lawlessness to keep everyone on edge in this country, not to get too complicit, not to get too comfortable. And this news report came out of Detroit. Watch.
Gangs from South America are breaking into multi-million-dollar homes across the country and now in Metro Detroit. And police say they're highly functional and well-trained.
The guy to the right in the middle, that's a jammer. So he's jamming signals right now.
Those jammers then render the Wi-Fi security systems useless. At least 30 to 40 homes have been hit since September in Detroit. Thieves getting away with cash, jewelry, expensive handbags in minutes.
A lot of this stuff is being packed up in the boxes for shipping as they're driving away from your home.
So I saw that news clip, and it kind of reinforced my thought process on this whole thing. Going into 2024, we're in an election year. We'll probably see some type of mirroring of what they did in 2020 with BLM and Antifa, burning, looting, and murdering their way through the entire summer in order to keep Donald Trump from getting reelected, We need to have the adults back in their room, whether they have Alzheimer's or not, doesn't matter. But we need to make sure Joe Biden gets elected and get the Democrats back in charge. But just when I thought I had it all figured out, I saw an interview between Jimmy Dore and Tucker Carlson that changed my mind about all of this. I guess it's what you would say was my aha moment with illegal immigration. Now, just for context, right before they start to discuss this, they are talking about and have just played a clip from Dick Durbin being down on the Senate floor. Now, he is the majority whip, which means he's the second highest ranking person of the Senate Democrats. He's been in this post, I think, since 2005, and he's also under a bunch of committees. But he was just talking about the recruitment numbers in the U.S. Armed Forces, our military, and how down they are, and how they can prop up those numbers using illegal immigrants. And after hearing Tucker's speculation on all of this, number one, my jaw hit the floor. But number two, they are definitely expecting some type of revolution in this country. Watch.
The Yankees are wising up to the scam of these foreign wars, and what's going to drive people into the shredder? The old standby, desperation.
This is gangs of New York.
So, right. So there's people who don't want to join their own military, but they want to go to someone else's country and join their military.
That's the best case scenario. That's the best case. I mean, first of all, they drove a lot of, anyone with self-respect was already driven out of the military by the vax mandates. So the high testosterone population has dropped dramatically in the military, and they do have a massive recruiting problem. Now, I would say the answer is clean up the military, give it missions that the average person can support. People aren't joining the military because they don't support the mission.
That's right.
Right? They don't want to die or send their sons to die for Ukraine. Sorry. But we should consider another possibility here. So if they were about 50 million people without undocumented, illegal, whatever you want to call them, foreign nationals in our country who are not citizens. In a lot of cases, we don't know who they are. So if you're, and the majority of the ones who have come in the last 3 years are young military-age men. So if we say, okay, all of a sudden you get to join the military, and our military is populated by people who don't know anything about the United States at all, you have to consider the possibility that the point is not to use them to fight another foreign war, but the point may be to use them domestically.
I can remember just 4 or 5 months ago, I was having an argument with someone on Twitter about this, trying to figure out if this was some type of great replacement theory or what exactly was going on here. I remember saying that, if there is some type of regional conflict that escalates and flares up and becomes World War III, they're going to need fit, able-bodied men between the ages of 17 to 50 to be able to go out there and get on the front lines and actually put up a fight, as we're seeing right now in Ukraine. And maybe they're bringing in the workforce to replace all of the dead soldiers we'll end up sending overseas. But unfortunately, I think it might be a lot more nefarious than even what I was suggesting.
And the U.S. military increasingly, certainly over the last 3 years, but really over the last couple of decades, has been used for domestic purposes, not the National Guards. That's constitutional. The governor calls the guard out, right? There's a problem. But the standing U.S. military has been used, and its intel services have been used. And that is the case on January 6th, but I think it's the case much more often than that. So if all of a sudden you're saying our military, we should give automatic weapons to people who just got here from foreign countries who we know nothing about at all, and those people can be used to keep order in the United States, I mean, this is literally how Rome fell. I mean, as you may or may not know, literally taking foreigners into the legions, and all of a sudden they're like, well, wait a second, we don't know what this Rome thing is, and we're not into it. And they ended the empire. They ended Rome. So we should be very careful.
There will be some day down the road where we look back at this time and understand better what was going on.
I mean, there are tons of people sitting at home who are driven out of the workforce for a bunch of different reasons over the past 4 years, and they're languishing and dying, and nobody cares at all about them. And so leaving aside even the moral calculations there, just to return to first principles, the only job of the U.S. government is to take care of Americans. We pay for it, we vote for it, it's ours, it's our country. So if they stop doing that, then they are, I think, ripe for a revolution, hopefully a nonviolent one, but definitely a revolution of some kind, because that's completely not the purpose of a representative democracy. I mean, it has to serve the people, and the people are last in line. I don't know. It's making me radical. I'm being honest with you.
It's making me radical also. I'm certainly going to be called.
He does have a fire in his belly, Dick Durbin.
Because these people have no good intentions. All they care about is remaining in power and crushing the small amount of freedom that we have left. And if that's going to take importing 5 million foreign fighters from another country in order to squash any type of rebellion, then that's what they're going to do. But again, just something I want you guys to be aware of. That's why I make these videos. That's why we come out here and keep doing this thing over and over again. All right, guys, it seems like a good place to wrap it up. I hate doing these type of shows or talking about this type of material, but it's got to be said. It's got to be said. We can't just stick our head in the sand and act like none of this is going on. All right, so we'll be going live in the next 24, 48 hours, either Saturday or Sunday night. We'll talk about this more. Come by, join the conversation, throw your 2 cents in. Let me know what you think, and let me know down in the comments below. Are we onto something here? Is this possibly what they have planned, or am I completely out of my mind? The U.S. government would never turn on its own people. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below, and as always, thank you for all the likes, the views, the comments. My new subscribers, my OGs, I appreciate each and every one of you. We are here to break the wheel. This is Ape Nation. I'm the Massalorian, and I'm out.